What if a skyscraper walked among us? But these giants redefine the very concept of biomass. We explore the largest dinosaurs ever unearthed. Their immense lengths challenge our modern imagination. The long-necked titan represents the peak of terrestrial gigantism. Now that we understand the scope, let's find the contenders. Weight, not just length, defines these absolute behemoths. Imagine 40 African elephants standing nose to tail. But this was the required biomass for survival and growth. A one footfall could shake the very ground beneath us. Even the largest modern cargo vessels pale in comparison. We are looking at true terrestrial leviathans. The circulatory system required to pump blood upward was extraordinary. Imagine the structural engineering of that massive neck. Their bodies were functionally biological skyscrapers. Now that we understand the giants, let's focus on the record holders. One contender, exceeding 30 meters in length, is often cited. Comparing it to the blue whale tells a fascinating story. Despite the size, their heads were relatively small structures. The sheer skin surface area required massive caloric intake daily. But they likely spent most daylight hours simply consuming vegetation. Digestion was slow, requiring immense internal volume. This massive biological factory needed constant fuel input. Imagine fitting 3 city buses end-to-end in its torso. The limb bones alone were structural masterpieces of bone density. These creatures navigated landscapes entirely different from ours. Even the tail required incredible muscular effort to swing. Reaching the highest foliage was their primary advantage. Now that we grasp the sauropods, let's shift to the heavyweights. The largest carnivores also achieved truly staggering mass totals. But even the largest modern bears look like small shadows beside them. Their dentition was built for shearing massive volumes of flesh. But their mass required immense skeletal support and muscular power. But yet, even these huge predators were surprisingly agile for their size. The hip height alone often exceeded that of a standard sedan. Other giants relied on sheer defensive bulk and osteoderms. But their tails functioned as devastating, natural wrecking balls. The confrontations between these armored titans must have been seismic events. The physics of such collisions are staggering to contemplate. And now that we have seen the forms, how do we measure them? Lifting these fossilized remains requires extreme modern engineering. Scientists rely heavily on mathematical scaling and proportional estimates. The pelvic girdle alone often rivals the size of a small car. The neck bones demonstrate unbelievable lightweight strength ratios. But how did such bulk move efficiently across the landscape? But each step generated seismic ripples, detectable hundreds of meters away. But the growth curve from hatchling to titan was incredibly fast. But even among the largest, there remains a fierce competition for the top. All this immense structure begins with surprisingly small beginnings. These were the ecological cornerstones of their entire world. What their immense vision surveyed landscapes we can only dream of today. The shadow they cast was a temporary eclipse on the land. But their respiration alone must have affected local weather patterns. To truly appreciate their size, we must return to modern context. The longest specimens spanned the length of several city blocks. Now, a single vertebra could easily serve as a small table. The animal's entire mass supported that relatively small head. But their hearts were comparable in size to a small, everyday automobile. These giants dominated their world through pure, magnificent scale. But their existence proves the universe allows for truly epic biological architecture.